What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily Podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. It is Victory Sunday, really the best Victory Sunday of all of them. And look, I slept like a baby. I know a lot of people are focused on all these different algorithms and these ridiculous tiebreakers that they're going to change the rules next year anyways. The committee trying to figure out what, those fools are trying to figure out. But at the end of the day, I'm worried about the Miami Hurricanes. And like a lot of Canes fans, I was deathly afraid that the Hurricanes would falter in the cold of November. We've seen it a million times. We've seen it for 20 years, 21 years, really. Miami's sucking at this time of year. That trend is old enough to drink. Soon it'll be old enough to rent a car. Or at least it was trending that way until Miami corrected it, finished as strong as possible, average of 24 plus points per game on the victories, 17 plus for every single game, and a convincing blowout of the Pitt Panthers in 30-degree weather. It didn't matter. It was a dominant, complete performance, probably the best team performance of the entire year when it mattered most here at the end of the season. So bottom line is, I'm sleeping like a baby because we have a real football team and we have a real football program. It's been a long time since we could say that credibly. It's not perfect. We'll get into all the ways it's not perfect, which is why we're not just booking playoff tickets or Charlotte tickets right now. But ultimately, we are a real program. We're a relevant program. We could play any team in the country and have a chance to beat them. I would say in most of those, not all of them, I'd pick us. So feels good, man. If you've been on the journey of us struggling for so long, it does feel very, very good to see a complete team performance. We'll get into all parts of this victory. As far as the Miami Notre Dame, we'll get into that over the course of the next week, pushing it. I'm already doing it on social media. I mean, there's not much to say. It's obvious. There is zero argument for Notre Dame. Go down the tiebreakers. We got the same record. Head-to-head, we saw what happened. Not only did Miami win, they were the physically superior team. Pushed around Notre Dame's defensive and offensive line. Big boy them. Better team. Period. Eye test, scoreboard, you name it. It was obvious. The whole country saw it. Best win. Miami's best win is Notre Dame. Notre Dame's best win is a 3-loss USC team. Obviously, Notre Dame beat USC. Miami's best win is better. Head-to-head, in terms of the common opponents between Miami and Notre Dame, 3 out of the 4, the 3 real teams, Miami beat those teams by bigger margins than Notre Dame beat them. The 4th, Syracuse, Fran Brown basically laid down like a common street tramp, and Miami still beat them by 4 touchdowns. So you want to award this based on who could humiliate Fran Brown the worst, you can have that title. But ultimately, common opponents, that favors Miami. All the metrics are pretty much identical at this point to end the season. The eye test, you look and see what Miami's doing. Nick Saban said the Miami's most dangerous team in the country. I think his eye test a little better than Urich or whoever is making those decisions for the committee. So it's just obvious. We don't really need to get into this. Quite frankly, it's obvious that Miami should be in over these SEC teams. I'm not sure that if you ask me who are the 5 best teams in the country right now, like as we sit here today, I don't think any SEC team is in that top 5. In terms of the quality of the team, I don't think any SEC team's as good as Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Miami, or Notre Dame. You talk about trenches, you talk about complete top-to-bottom quarterback, you name it, Miami's better than those teams are all better than all the SEC teams. The era of the SEC teams dominating with the trenches, that's done. So, look, we'll have time to make all those cases. I think the most important thing was Miami making their case on the field, and that's what they did. By the way, if you need someone to make your case, you know who to call. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. So, look, we'll make that case all week. That's obvious. We got plenty of time to get into that. I want to talk about this football team, the Miami Hurricanes, what they did yesterday and what they've done over the course of the season. I'm going to go position by position. That's just the easiest way for me to organize my thoughts, especially when I look at Pete. By the way, his post game was great. He's been saying 10 wins the whole year. You go watch his post game. He was great. That's funny because ultimately, big picture, a lot of the takes that we had before the year being optimistic turned out to be accurate, but it feels weird because of all the different ACC championship and playoff kind of permutations we got to think about. But ultimately, the optimistic realist take, let's call it. I know this was certainly my record prediction. I wasn't alone, was 10-2. I thought you'd lose one of Notre Dame, Florida, and then lose one in the ACC. Ended up being more ACC oriented, but ultimately 10-2. I think most people signing up for that after losing Cam Ward, being a better overall team, beating your rivals, going 10-2 against a better schedule. And I think in terms of like all the different positions, they kind of landed where you hope they would on a realistic, optimistic projection. It was just sort of ups and downs to get there. Starting with, let's talk about Carson Beck, because obviously he's a quarterback. You start there. When you look at his stats at the end of the day, the guy ended up being what we kind of thought he was going in, which is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I don't think anybody predicted him to match what Cam Ward did last year or what the offense did last year. Certainly we didn't. But the thought is, can Carson Beck be a top 10 quarterback in the country? Can Miami's offense be like a top 20? And there was a stretch where it wasn't, which is why you saw the 2 losses. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, 3,000 yards, 8.7 yards per attempt, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, and he's in the top 10 nationally in passer rating. So kind of ended up being what you expected. I thought the way he played coming back from his elbow, and once he really got some timing, remember he missed all of spring, missed the summer, most of it, and then came back in camp, wasn't quite, he was physically there, but he was still getting used to his elbow. Obviously, the timing was still a major issue. But you saw once he got it going last month, he'd been the best quarterback in the country or close to it, man. I mean, he's throwing 80%, throwing it down the field, throwing it middle, intermediate, quick release, you name it. He's been doing it. So Carson Beck, you got to start there. As ultimately, it didn't feel that way with all the ups and downs, but he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I would say the second best quarterback we've had since Dorsey, besides Cam Ward. And quite frankly, I don't think it's close. I think there's a pretty big, Cam Ward's the best gap between him and everybody. I think he's the best quarterback I've ever seen at UM. Then Beck next. And then I'd say there's another gap between you get to the Derek Kings, the Brock Berlins, the Brad Caius. And by the way, you're wondering why I like portal quarterbacks? 4 of those 5 guys are portal guys. So quarterback, you're feeling good. I should also say Mario, I skipped over the coach before I got to the quarterback, but really with Mario, ultimately, look, we got to figure out the ACC. We got to figure out how to win more consistently within it to teams we should beat. And we got to figure out how to get in a better conference, because obviously it's a disaster administratively, or at least how can the conference get better while we're in it? Because right now it's a mess, kind of a national laughingstock administratively. But what he's done is he's made us a real program, just a relevant, real program. I watch ESPN, I watch Game Day, I see our logo. I see us in big games, we belong, we can win, right? We're in the conversation all year. I see awards, we're candidates for those. I see draft, first day shaking Goodell's hand. So it's just a whole different feel with this team, this program now than it was 2021 when you're getting blown off the field by Alabama. So I think that's what you see big picture with Mario. Still warts, biggest one being how can you not lose those games you're supposed to win within the ACC as double-digit favorites? Kind of similar to the issue he had at Oregon, different conference with similar issue. That's hurdle he's got to clear. Obviously, we'll see how the season ends up with the playoff and everything else. But I think overall, we brought him in to make it to be a real program. We're a real program. I don't know what else to say. That's the reality. Running back. One of the reasons why I think this team right now, November 30th, is a better team than it was when it beat Notre Dame first week of the season is, man, our running game has found itself. And I think clearly Gerard Pringle, right there at the top of the running back room. He's the best runner on the team as far as running the ball, being dynamic with it, also very good at not losing yards. He's the man. Had a long of 38 yesterday. He's just waiting to bust one of those 70, 80 yarders, 82 yards yesterday. Overall, running game did pretty well, I think. 140 yards against a team that's geared to stop the run. And Pringle, with his speed, has totally changed that dynamic. Fletcher, to me, I've been saying it all year, is one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player on the team. He's a championship player. That's what Fletcher is. He's a championship player. You see him block, whether he's pass blocking or lead blocking for Pringle, which I think he can do more of, or whether he's just putting the nail in the coffin, running over Pitt, sending helmets flying, setting a tone, setting our identity. So I think Fletcher and Pringle is exactly what you want in that thunder and lightning combo. And then with Marty Brown, you can't even call him a number 3 because he's one of the better football players on your team overall. Another great blocker, another guy who can get you tough yards. So I think that running back room is really solidified. You thought it would be Lyle in that Pringle spot. That's why you have competition. Pringle ended up being the better player for this season and is your top back. So running game, I think, is taking a leap forward. You think you found your running game. You want to keep Fletcher. You want to keep, you could obviously, I think pro-wise, that's a tough position for pros. He's very valuable to this team. I think you bring him back, pair him with Pringle. You got your running game. Hopefully bring back Marty as well. And you got to keep recruiting. Wide receiver, you want to talk about things that are different, right? So I went through some things that are different with this team. And I promise I'll get to some of the comments. I'm just trying to roll through these before I forget. When you talk about the wide receivers, the things that we've been struggling with as a program, not having guys on the first day of the draft, right? Not having those premier guys. You see that kind of being settled last year and continues this year. Winning in November, obviously we saw what happened yesterday and through the last 4 weeks. Trench play and the struggles we've had with an offensive line. We've seen those questions answered. We've seen a lot of questions answered through the building up of this program. Where I think you've seen one more question answered is the best freshman in the country from Miami-Dade County is a Miami Hurricane. And that's Malachi Toney. I mean, you talk about an era where Miami-Dade really is dominating college football. I thought it was down, and I think it is down on the macro, but some of the best players, absolute best players, are dominating college football. We've now got 2 of those guys Hurricanes, including the youngest one, right? Mendoza and Jeremiah Smith. We know about what they're doing at the top 1 and 2. I mean, they're 2 of the best players in the country. But Ruben Bain, who we'll talk to about in a second, Malachi Toney, top 10 players in America. I say 4 of the top 10 players in America are from Dade. 2 of them are Canes, and the youngest one is a Cane, which I think is significant because makes it more likely the next one's a Cane. Right. Again, I don't think South Florida is as strong as it's been. You see it in the makeup of our recruiting class. It's just not that many people to get. But I think you're laying the groundwork. So when you do have those true stars, they'll be wearing orange and green. And Malachi Toney's a big part of that. One of the best players in the country, period. Top 10 overall player. Hasn't dropped a pass all year. I'll repeat, has not dropped a pass all year while he's setting all sorts of records. Hasn't really thrown that many bad passes. I think the pass to Pringle that he rushed, other than that, he's been pretty accurate. And of course, he's running with the ball and he's blocking his butt off every single play. Elite football player, Miami Hurricane. What more can you say about Malachi Toney? He has a pretty lofty nickname, and he's earned it. You know you're good when you have that nickname if people don't think you're a disappointment. So Malachi's the man. I thought, Keelan Marion continues to be solid. CJ Daniels, so happy to see him come back with that catch. He's been such a big part of the culture of this team, kind of starting it with the spectacular catch, ending it with a spectacular catch. We'll see where he goes from there, but man, he's been a great Cane. Nice to see JoJo Trader make a nice catch in an important spot on 3rd down, see if he can build on that. Josh Moore would have liked to see him go up and get that pass from Malachi. We'll see his game continue to progress. Dalen Upshaw, you see that burst, man. I want to keep feeding the ball. I think he can run with the ball and do his thing. Plus, he's a good runner as well in terms of his routes. So I'd like to see more Dalen Upshaw, but I like the overall trajectory of the receiving core. And I think you're bringing in some more, and when goes a borderline 5-star, Vance Spafford, who was injured this year, but he'll come in healthy, and he's been one of the better receivers in the country since he's been on the scene. You bring in a lot of really good freshman receivers, Milan Paris, a big ascending guy. So I think that room's trending up, and it starts with the best freshman in the country with Malachi Toney. Tight end, right? Tight end is a spot that has been underperforming. We all talked about it. We all know. I think you're seeing it get hot at the right time. Huge game from Alex Bauman. Happy for him to contribute to such a big win with his performance in that game. Catching the ball, running with the ball, really, really doing an outstanding job. And I'm just, again, very, very happy to see him get those moments after working hard, blocking all year, not having the success that he wanted, being able to finish strong. Elijah Lofton, you're seeing more and more role in the offense. I still think if this guy has a good offseason where he gets healthy, shoulder gets healthy, legs get healthy, maybe loses some weight, just gets in better shape, he could have a huge, huge year for somebody, hopefully us, next year. So not selling my Elijah Lofton stock, although clearly, he hasn't been what I thought he was going to be this year. A lot of factors to that, but you'd like to see him continue to have success. He still has more room to go. And then the offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in America. I think the running blocking, not what you hoped it would be in ACC play. Some of that I think had to do with just struggles in the backfield period. Pringles revitalized that running game quite a bit, but still not as good as you want in the run game for what you expect from this offensive line. But I think we could all agree, by far the best pass blocking unit in the country, period, point blank. Markel Bell in particular. I mean, I remember last year people were saying Markel Bell was slow. He was this and that. I don't think Carson Beck's been touched blindside from Markel Bell's guy all year. At least it doesn't feel like it. Nick West saying, was that a Lofton transfer hint? No, I say that about every bit player because unless like the player is just so obviously ingrained, because that's just the nature of college football. I think Lofton should be back. I think he will be back. And I think he'll have a much better year next year when he gets healthy. So just clarifying that point. But yeah, man, that's the offense. I'm going to get to your questions here in a second. First, want to shout out our friends at University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. I know a lot of people active this weekend, running around, hopefully not struggling with those knees when it comes to, sometimes those old injuries feel a little worse in the cold. So if you're an athlete or you consider yourself an athlete, active person, you know how hard it is to bounce back from an injury, maybe even try to hack your own rehab. But if compromising your performance is not an option, call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. Whether it's elite athletics with the University of Miami football team or just everyday movement, the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute will get you back at your best. Go to uhealthsports.com and set your appointment today. That's uhealthsports.com. Also, man, I know you're hungry. I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. Head down to the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion, the best Cuban restaurant on the planet, Islas Canarias Cuban Express, right there in the middle of Dayland Mall. 7 different types of croquetas, all kinds of sandwiches, tostones, fries, cubaritos, which are like a grab and go type of Cuban food, pastries, empanadas, even Venezuelan tequeños, you name it, they have it at Islas Canarias Cuban Express, the #1 Cuban restaurant on planet Earth. All right. Let me get some comments here before I get to all the defensive notes I got, because we got a ton of comments. Whew. Yeah, Lewis saying we finally finished strong in November. It's been waiting. Kane Gang saying this year's different. This team can beat anybody. Being left out, such an injustice to the sport. We're not out yet. I think there's a good chance we're going to be in. We got screwed in 2000. Couldn't really control that. All we control is how we play, how we build the program, and how we respond. The response that time was pretty good. The arena's fired up. Canes Cats saying history. At back-to-back 10-win seasons, man. It's been a lot. Yeah, we are feeling good this morning. I slept like an absolute baby. My man, Jim Sala. Sala asks Reed and Cox for all your securities law needs. This is the guy. You saw him at TMZ getting quoted after a victorious win for his client, Hawk Tua. Jim Sala says, best thing about this team is they started to peak at the end. First team since 2016 that did that. That's absolutely right. And then like that 2016 team, this team beat Notre Dame, beat Florida State. Yeah, Evan Freed fired up. I am too, man. Floor's been raised big time. And I think the ceiling's been raised too, because this team is easily championship caliber. Does that mean they're going to win the championship this year? A lot of things have to happen. But, we've raised the ceiling to a team that can legitimately win a championship. Omar talking about the conference. I agree, man. It's been a disaster. What can I tell you? It's between the refereeing, the PR, the terrible tiebreakers, and also we got to play better. Miami Hurricanes to play better in conference. That's the part they got to figure out. Martin Dubé saying, why are you confident we get in? To me, it seems we're out of options. I think ultimately we're going to jump Notre Dame. And I think if you're a cuck and you're sitting there under the questioning, which of course is going to center around Miami Notre Dame, what rationale does he have to put Miami or Notre Dame? The analytics now are almost equal in every category. So you can't really say analytics. You can't say eye test because Miami's been playing extraordinarily well. They played common opponents better than Notre Dame. Guy like Nick Saban's calling it the most dangerous team in the country. Carson Beck dialed in. So what would his argument be besides quality losses taking precedent over good wins? And if you're going to make that argument, then what is the incentive? And this is where the business of the sport comes in. What is the incentive to play those big money games like Miami Notre Dame in the opening game of the season? They made a lot of money off that game. But if it's an exhibition, a preseason game, it's not worth as much. So Are you going to just say that game didn't matter? I don't think so. I think the key for the Miami Notre Dame debate is that, first of all, I think the media is going to be on our side. I mean, you see the big names. Feinbaum's on our side. Josh Pate's going to make a big statement in our favor tonight. I'm almost positive that'll happen. Can't say we finished weak. Can't say we don't pass the eye test. Can't say the analytics are different anymore because you see the analytics. We're right next to each other. We're going to jump Notre Dame's my thought. Maybe I'm optimistic because I know we should jump Notre Dame. But I think from being a cynical, think of everybody acting in their own self-interest. What's your cook going to say when they're asking him questions about why Notre Dame's ahead of Miami? What's his argument going to be? Think about it. Like, play it out. Say it in the chat. What's the argument he's going to say for Notre Dame over Miami? It's going to be crickets because there's none. Unless he says quality losses, in which case he's saying that quality losses mean more than a head-to-head win when all things are equal or close. And if that's the precedent you want to take, you've now disincentivized out-of-conference games, which make a lot of money. So that is my just rational, like everybody acting in their own self-interest. But I don't know. College football does stupid stuff all the time. Maybe your cuck wants to be known like the BCS is known all these years later after having stubbed Miami. I wouldn't want to have that kind of stain on my legacy when they Google my name. Bobby T, appreciate your support, man. Does the ACC change the bylaws if Duke wins and then zero ACC teams make the playoffs? Maybe a mixture of best conference record, but also takes into account your national ranking. No doubt. The national ranking should be the tiebreaker. It's common sense. This is an embarrassment what's happening in the ACC. They're going to get screwed if Duke wins because they're going to have no teams in the playoff unless Miami makes it through no help of the ACC. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to change the rules. All these rules are going to change because the conferences got too big and the conferences didn't adjust properly. Now you got a cluster here this year. So I think they're learning as they go. They're now seeing that the conference tiebreaker situation is just a disaster. And I think that's going to be reformed next year somehow. That's going to be the main focus because just nothing about it reflects the current reality of college football. Hopefully we're not on the wrong side of it where they change it after it screws us. But all we can control is, the way Miami played, and Miami's played at a highest level. T loves saying if everything was the same and you just switch Miami Notre Dame, then head-to-head would matter. Everyone knows this. We'll find out. I think Miami's going to – if I were them trying to – I mean, look, obviously I'm biased, but if we're just doing the right thing and trying to also think in terms of them trying to avoid bad press, what they should do is they should drop – the truth is Miami – if you look – Miami Notre Dame, I would say one thing about Notre Dame is actually better than all these SEC teams, just like Miami's better than all these SEC teams, or at least most of them. The SEC itself is the one that's the most overrated conference. They're still the best conference, but I wouldn't put any of their good teams in the top 5 of like actual playing the best right now. So, really what it should be is Miami, Notre Dame, and then Alabama drops. And then if Alabama wins the championship, they jump again because they would have won. And if they lose, they're out. That's what should happen. BYU, same. You put them in the same position. You drop them behind. If they win, they're in. If they lose, they're out anyways. We'll see if they do that, though. I think just the more likely is going to come down to Miami, Notre Dame, and Miami jumps Notre Dame. Maybe they don't. But, again, I don't think that there's an argument. Heatherman then said 3 weeks ago, and I got to find this clip, Heatherman, man. Put it in the chat if you remember which one it was, because I'm going to go find it. In the event UM and Notre Dame get placed in the same comparative pool, head-to-head will play a premium. With the analytics the way they are, we're right next to each other. So, and I think the common opponent is the one I'm hammering because, okay, you don't want to make head-to-head everything. Okay, well, they played this 4 teams. They have a big array of common opponents for 2 teams that are not in the same conference, technically. 3 of them, Miami beat by bigger margins. The 4th was Fran Brown, who Miami beat by 4 touchdowns, kind of completely humiliated him. Notre Dame just ran up worse against him, and he was laying down like a street horse. So, again, I don't think that I think that comparison favors Miami strongly. So then what are you moving on to the next one? Best win, that's Miami too. Analytics, they're right next to each other. So what's the catch for Notre Dame? The eye test looks better. Does it really? I don't think, a lot of football people agree with that. Number one, I'll put Saban right there at the top. Number 2, when they played, Miami was the better team by the eye test. Like when Alabama played Oklahoma, Alabama had a better eye test. They outgained Oklahoma. Oklahoma won. When Miami played Notre Dame, they led the whole game and was better physically. I mean, the eye test was ahead in that game. So again, I just don't think that the committee, with the way Miami finished, has any arguments to put Notre Dame up. We'll see if they do it anyways, but they'd be, discredited and lose a lot of credibility for it and be remembered like the BCS. So, all right, I'm going to switch to the defensive side of the ball because I want to cover some of these squads or some of these players on the squad. Defensive line, story of the game ultimately. Pittsburgh could not block Miami's defensive line. This is the big difference between SEC and other schools for many, many years was that just the dudes up front, the war daddies. And as you've seen, that's not longer the case. I couldn't even tell you who's on Georgia's defensive line or Alabama's defensive line. Pretty average players, relatively speaking. Miami has significantly better defensive line than both of those programs, which historically, 4 years ago, you would have said that's a joke. Miami better defensive line than these teams. I would say it's like not even remotely close. And I think most people would agree. So this defensive line is the story of the game, probably the story of the season for Miami, at least one of them. Ruben Bain, he was my pregame player of the game. I predicted he'd be the player of the game. I don't think that's off. I mean, he had 1.5 sacks, completely dominated the run as well. Messidor always doing his thing. The defensive tackle, shout out to Damian Lewis, man. Damian Lewis has made these defensive tackles a dominant unit. Where you remove David Blay, who was playing great, you have Moten and Scott, and they're just dominating. First play of the game, Moten sets the tone. I mean, they are killing one-on-one matchups right now, and Justin Scott's making plays sideline to sideline and in the backfield, looking every bit like a 5-star first rounder. If those two are back, which I mean, Scott, I assume will be back. Moten has an NFL decision to make. I think it suits him, like Markel Bell and Fletcher, to come back. You're talking about arguably the best defensive tackle pairing in the country, along with Oklahoma's group. So that's pretty good. And then you also have Amardo Blunt playing more and more defensive tackle, causing a lot of problems on that Bryce Fitzgerald sack. Could have easily credited to Armando Blunt. He won that play off the snap. So that defensive tackle room is looking really, really good. Damian Lewis deserves all the credit in the world for what he's done to make that a strength of Miami. And if you're strong at defensive tackle, you're one of the best plays in the country, best teams in the country, one of the best defenses in the country. That's just kind of how it usually goes. Who else did good on the defensive line? Yeah, I mean, those were the guys. It was really a Bain-centric performance, Messidor, but defensive line just dominated. Linebackers, their job was to stop Pitt's running game. They did that. So, I don't think they're as a spectacular unit as maybe others, and they've kind of gotten some heat for that. But if you really look at the linebackers, our run defense is as good as any team in the country. That's certainly top 3. So you don't do that unless you have good linebacker play. So I think we got to credit guys like Toure, guys like Wesley Bissainth, guys like Popo for what they've done in terms of solidifying this defense and against the run, and the improvements guys like Wesley and Popo have made on their own. In terms of the defensive backfield, I said in the pregame, I'm going to toot my own horn here. I said, with this quarterback, you want to bring DB pressure because he struggles with that. And I think you saw that when we were bringing that safety and then nickel, and it was causing a lot of problems for Heinzel because he can't run away from those guys. And he's not strong like drones to get off those guys. Although Heinzel, great player. I think he's got a huge future. So you saw the safety position. I would say, to me, I made a post about this on CanesInsight.com. Our safety position, the year-to-year improvement, unless you're talking about like TVD to Cam Ward, I don't know if there's been a better position group improvement than safety from last year to this year. It's like night and day. Any one of them, pick your guy. I mean, Jacoby Thomas to me has been the best safety in the conference over the course of the entire year. He was hitting people, doing his thing yesterday. Zechariah Poyser the last few weeks. I thought he was good to start the year. I never thought he was struggling or anything like that. I always thought he was good. But, man, he's really elevated his game. He's so he plays so hard. He's so reckless with his body, just like Thomas is, really. Physical presence, and you got that juice, that explosiveness. He can cover a bit. I'm a big Zechariah Poyser fan. He's a championship-level safety. And then Bryce Fitzgerald. I mean, talk about a home run in recruiting. He's one of the best athletes in his freshman class. I'm talking about nationally. He can cover like a corner. His ball skills are absolutely elite. I put them right on par with Cam Kitchens, who's one of the best safeties in the NFL right now, but with better athleticism than Kitchens had. And, tackling, he's improved. I mean, he's become a weapon as a blitzer. He's not always finishing, but he's getting there, man. And he's got good timing, and he's tackling better than he did to start the year. Continues to improve there. You're talking about a first-round player, man. As T-Love mentioned, he's about to have his first – let me see here. I'm sorry. As T-Love mentioned, he's about to have his first full college off-season program because, remember, Columbus didn't allow early graduation. So he was the only guy that wasn't here in spring. And you saw how quickly he became a key part of this defense and one of the best freshmen in the country, period, point blank. So that group's improved tremendously. And the corners, man, I mean, look, they hit a couple, great plays down the field where they made great catches. One, Ethan O'Connor had coverage. I mean, the guy made a great catch. Virginia Tech made a couple of those last year. But ultimately, when you look at it, I'm just going to pull up our rankings here. So I'm pulling up now just our pass defense stats just to give you a feel for where we're at. So in terms of opponent yards per pass attempt, which to basically passing efficiency, which I view as probably the best stat to judge your pass defense. Miami, 13th in the country and top 10 in terms of P4. Passing defense overall, opposing passing yards per game. Where do we sit here? Let me just pull the stat up. We are 29th. I mean, last year we were bottom of the barrel, but I think the efficiency, top 15. So really you're talking about a huge monster improvement across the board in terms of pass defense, and it's paired with good run defense. That's how you get a top 5 defense overall. But I think between, you have Frederick out and you have Keontae Scott out. Those are NFL defensive backs, and you didn't miss a beat. You had Lucas doing his thing, Damari Brown doing his thing, Ethan O'Connor. This is a deep corner group. It's a great team. One of the top 10 teams in the country. I feel good about them. You can line this up against Ohio State. Look, there's stuff you worry about. You worry about those studs on defense for Ohio State. You worry about Jeremiah Smith, best player in the country, in my opinion. But you're playing ball. You got more than a chance to beat them. They're a peer. They're a peer team. SEC teams, I think we're better than all of them, my personal opinion. Who's better than us in the SEC? I mean, Georgia can't rush the passer. Certainly is not going to rush on our offensive line. Alabama, physically soft team. I think they've been playing some pretty bad football the last month. Really, to me, shouldn't be in. Got boat raced by FSU, which is not only an ACC team, but a bottom of the barrel ACC team, one of the worst in the conference. So, I'd take us against any SEC team, quite frankly. Ohio State, they deserve to be ranked where they are. I think feel good about them. Obviously, Notre Dame, hell of a team right now. We beat them, so we stack up with them. Oregon would be a fun game, man. That'd be a great matchup. I think both teams would stack up pretty well. 2 complete ball clubs. So, who can't Miami play with in 2025 or 30th? Nobody. It's a long way from getting punked by Alabama. So if you ever have any questions, look, I wish that we were walking into Charlotte too. I wish we were locked for the playoff too. It's frustrating. All the different permutations and all the outside stuff that makes no sense. And then, of course, the losses, right? That shouldn't have been losses. If you're worried about the direction of the program, pop in that Pittsburgh tape, last game of the season. Pop in that Notre Dame tape, first game of the season. Pop in any of the games against our rivals. And then go watch that Alabama-Miami 2021 game. Whole different animal, whole different team, whole different program. We are a real program again, and it feels good to say, man. It feels good to say. So we got a little bit of downtime here because we're not playing in Charlotte like we should if this was a real conference and if Miami took care of business, but also if it was a real conference with real tiebreakers. So once you give your free time, you're going to have a raise with KashKick, KashKick, one of the top apps in the country, 4.5 plus average rating, 1.5 million plus average downloads or total downloads. Go to the App Store, download KashKick, that's KashKick, and give your free time a raise. What does that mean, give your free time a raise? What that means is you download the KashKick app, you're gaming, having all your games consolidated, maybe just browsing, doing surveys, sharing your opinions. You can earn real money just messing around on your phone. Go straight to your PayPal account. Easy, real money. It's not going to make you quit your day job, but it's certainly going to give your free time a raise with the KashKick app. So go to the KashKick on the App Store. You go to KashKick.com as well. Sign up today. KashKick, KashKick. Give your free time a raise. Let's get some comments here. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. 1MG, popping that Louisville tape. Looks like the same program to me. The same program as what? I mean, it's a silly comment. Same program as what? As the last 20 years? If you think this is the same program as the last 20 years, there's nothing really to discuss. I mean, you're not watching the same team that I'm watching, that the numbers show, and anything else. I mean, that's just kind of, again, an ignorant comment. Louisville, the quarterback threw 4 interceptions. They made some great plays. We weren't playing well on offense. It happens. You know who else lost 2 games this year? Pretty much any good team in the country, right? You got Indiana and Ohio State, who had really clean seasons. Texas A&M and Ole Miss, who didn't really play the hardest teams that they could have played, but they took care of business, which, again, we didn't do as we should have. I mean, who else are we talking? Notre Dame's got 2 losses. Alabama's got 2 losses. Go down the line. Forget about LSU, Texas, our rivals, all those teams, which have significantly more. Oklahoma, they got 2 losses. I mean, it's hard to win. Winning is hard. And we weren't perfect. We had issues that we got to fix. Obviously, those weren't good. Those are going to keep everybody up at night. But to say there's the same program that we've seen the last 20 years, I mean, guys, give me a break. Like, let's be realistic here. Just Jay, put some respect on Mark Fletcher's name. He's an impact player that runs with more athleticism than people give him credit for. Yeah, I love that run. Knocking off helmets. Just being physical, setting an identity and tone. And he's a great blocker, too. I think we should use him more as a blocker for Pringle because he's like a fullback. My guy 1MG says, ignorant. Damn, D, let me vent. I would let you vent after the Louisville game. I'll let you vent after the SMU game. I'm not letting you vent after we go in 30-degree weather to Pittsburgh, a team that and I'm putting myself in the back of my mind, I'm like, we're going to blow this game. To go to a game that everybody thought we were going to lose, as far as Canes fans that have watched the last 20 years, and we blow the doors off and play the best game of the year, don't vent after that one. You could vent after the SMU and Louisville game. We got plenty of room to vent. We did a lot of venting podcasts. No more venting. Obviously, we're a different program. Are we where we need to be? No. If we were where we need to be, we'd be where Ohio State is. Okay? So I'm not trying to make us something that we're not, but I'm also not trying to lie about what we've been for the past 20-plus years and where we're at now and act like it's equivalent. It's not. It's just not. I mean, you can go by the stats. First back-to-back 10-win season since back then. You can just go by the eye test. I mean, we look like a whole different program than we did back then. NFL, national clout. Again, you name it. We're just analytics. I mean, what the analytics got us is the top 5 team in the country. So it's just not the same program. I love you though, NMG. I didn't mean to get after you for that one. But come on. Vent after the losses. Don't vent after the wins. Birdstone, smash that like button. It's free. Shout out to the villains. Yeah, man. I just texted Streeter this morning trying to get something going today to get that set up. Mrs. G, what kind of nonsensical tiebreak system does the ACC have? Well, Duke is the worst team of all these teams in the mix. They've beaten the least good as ACC teams, and they got the same record as everybody else, and they're in. So obviously the system's broken. Sworn to the Storm says, the only problem I have with Mario is his stubbornness. This has to be the last year he tries to have an imprint on the offense. Dawson needs complete autonomy. What I would say with Mario, it's not so much a stubbornness problem. Maybe it's just a late to react problem. Like something burns us and then he fixes it. Better than being stubborn and not fixing it, like we saw with like Golden and D'Onofrio, for example. But he is late. So I wouldn't say he's so much stubborn as he is late on a lot of things. And we could go by, the few of those things. He's slow to make decisions. It can sometimes be late. I don't think he's stubborn in terms of I don't think he has an ego. He's not an offensive coordinator where it's like, this is my system. This is my identity. So he'll change things. I mean, we've seen him change a ton of things since he got here, right? I mean, we've seen problems get corrected. I think the frustration with Canes fans is, man, we lose before we get corrected. That to me is a fair complaint. Stubborn, I don't think is fair. I think he changes things. He's going to change things right now after this. Now you wish it didn't happen after, 2 losses, right? So there's criticism there. I just wouldn't frame it as stubbornness personally. That's not how I would frame it. I think he's not stubborn. I think he just might be slow to react, slow to make decisions sometimes. Chris said it. Miami's 3 or 4 common opponents more convincingly plus beat ND head-to-head. It's ridiculous, stupid, and preposterous. And the analytics are right next to each other. I'm telling you, it's one of the reasons why I think we're going to get in is because the analytics are like touching. They just put them out, the ones that they get presented to the committee. So if you're sitting there in the committee room, you can't say like there's an analytic spread. You basically are forced to admit that head-to-head doesn't matter. And because it was the first game of the year. And if you're saying that, then you're basically saying that these big money games that we sell a lot of ads on and make a lot of money on don't matter. And that's not something you want to say as a college football committee. So I think that's what you say. Let's see here. Steven says he took a look in the mirror of the SMU loss. I'm sure he did. He'll be looking in the mirror a lot. Mario, again, a lot of criticisms. I'm just saying Mario's not afraid to make changes. You wish he made them earlier in certain respects. And some of it's just flow. Look, I thought Lyle would be the main guy in this running game based on what he did in springs. I mean, I'm an amateur, but I mean, like Don Solinger thought Lyle was going to be a monster, right? I mean, obviously the coaches agreed, but just people at practice that have been around the game thought Lyle was going to be the guy. So I think the problem wasn't that they thought he was going to be the guy. It's just how quick do you make the change? And I thought when Pringle was healthy and ready to go, he made the change. By the way, I still think Lyle's going to be a great player. I don't want to jump on him because I think Lyle's going to be a great player. If it's for us, I don't know. I'm just using him as an example of like something that changed during the year personnel wise. There's another point from Josh, which I agree. He says, what people don't realize is Pringle and Malley were true freshmen. How much can you put on their plate earlier in their season? The usage rose as the season went on and they learned the playbook and got more experience. Totally agree. And that's one of the reasons why I think you put Bryce Fitzgerald in that category too. One of the reasons why I think we're a better team now than we were when we played Notre Dame. Because now you got Tony carrying one of the biggest workloads in America. You got Pringle as your starting running back. Fitzgerald is like a hugely impactful defensive player in a lot of phases. So I think, that all kind of suits up. Coach Jenko, D, which QB makes the most sense that we go after? If there's something we're going to be talking about, we got recruiting. We got sign day on Wednesday, so we're going to do a marathon for that. We'll talk a lot about the recruits coming in. Probably not as much drama, but we'll talk about all the guys. We'll be on all day. But other than that, what we're going to be talking about the most, the playoffs, obviously, and then quarterback transfers, our favorite topic. JKS looked awesome yesterday. As far as pure throwing talent, I'd probably put him at the top of the list. But again, I don't know if he's available. Mestamaker, I love what he does. I don't know if he's going to be available. You don't know who's available. So it's kind of hard to stack these guys because you just don't know the whole framework. To me, if you talk about, I don't know who's going to be the best quarterback for us because I don't know who's available. I don't know all the variables. I don't know all the intangibles. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. So I'm not going to act like I know who's the best guy. If you're asking me who I think is the cleanest fit based on what we know, like just the cleanest, I would say CJ Bailey, just because he's already a top 5 quarterback in the ACC by all the measures. So that's where his floor is. He's only a true sophomore. So next year will be his true junior year. He's only a year older than Nickel. So if you say, okay, well, his floor is a top 5 ACC quarterback. We know what he can do at conference. His ceiling with our pass blocking, if his biggest weakness is dealing with the pass rush and we have the best pass blocking, what's his ceiling? Only true junior sophomore. He already has 20 starts, but he'll be going into his true junior year with 20 plus starts. 6'5", 6'6", big arm, accurate 70% passer, can run. All reports good kid to be a smooth locker room fit. I just think that's the cleanest fit. And you're saying, all right, well, the ceiling is a top 5 ACC quarterback as a true sophomore. The upside, who knows? Maybe the upside is not that much further. Maybe the upside is a lot further because of the physical tools and playing behind a better offensive line. I kind of lean more towards that category or that group. But, am I going to sit here and say he's better than all these other guys? I don't know. I don't know if the other guys are available. And I don't know the intangible stuff and all that and the injuries. There's a lot to know. But in terms of what I do know, I think the cleanest fit would be lock up CJ Bailey, go get some good receivers. You already have a lot of good receivers in-house you got to keep. But, in terms of having your quarterback set early, whereas last year Beck came later, and I think that cost us receivers. He was out, so I think that led to some of the inconsistency on offense early. A lot of other things did too, but that was one of the factors. I think a guy like Bailey, bring him in, set him up, get him working out, lock and load. That's probably the easiest fit. That doesn't mean he's the only good option. There's a lot of good options. We're going to be talking about this a ton. I just think now that the dust is settled with the season, I do think that that's the cleanest option. We'll find out if it's the best. There's more to see. All right. Let's see what else we got. A good comment here from Rock Defy. He said, Malley is Cam Ward 2 for the program, 2.0. I think he is in terms of the star power. Cam Ward made a ton of new fans, my kids included. My kids became hardcore Canes because of Cam Ward and Restrepo. I think Malley is doing the same thing, right, for even more kids. He's just such a star, and we get it for 3 years instead of 1. So a godsend. And similar to Cam Ward, intangible-wise, everything you want in a player is Malachi Toney. You want to show everybody, if you say, what's a Hurricane supposed to be? Show them Cam Ward, show them Malachi Toney. That's what it's supposed to look like. That's how it is. So couldn't pick a better representative to be your star. Duval Kane said, D, if players don't limit the expectations, you come off like you push them down. I don't want to push anybody down. So, I'm pro player. I love Lyle. I think Lyle's great. I think he's going to be a great player. I'm just saying that, they had to work that situation out. It wasn't working, obviously, for a lot of reasons early. And then it's working now, the running game. And I think just it was about finding the fit for this particular team in this year. I think Lyle's going to be a really good player. I want to make sure that's clear. With Lofton, again, I'm the biggest Lofton fan ever. I was hyping him to the heavens. So when people ask me, why is he playing well? I got to be honest and say he's really not. He had not been playing well, and some of the reasons why I thought he wasn't, injuries being a big one. But I'm pro player, man. I'm all about these kids. I want them to be successful, and I believe in them. I mean, I think Jordan Lyles is going to be a really, really great player wherever he lands. I want that to be clear. Whoever's listening to this, I interviewed Jordan Lyles, talked to his parents, great people. I've been hyping him too. I think he's good. Just for whatever, I can't lie and say it was working here when it wasn't this season. So that just trying to give context to something that maybe was expected before the season that didn't play out the way it did because we're looking at the season. So just want to make that clear, man. I'm a big Lyle fan. Let's see what else. Joe Kane says Mally will end up with all the Miami receiving records if he stays healthy, for sure. I think the big thing I want to see with Mally is he's going to have a 4-touchdown game where he throws, runs, receives, and returns 4 touchdowns, different ways. Maybe someone in the chat knows when the last time that was done in college, but I think Mally has a chance to do it. He had 3 out of the 4, and he didn't bust a return this year. But it feels like that's kind of inevitable with Malachi. Yeah, Lofton touchdown 3 straight games. He's getting much better. All right, everybody. Again, like and subscribe. I'll be back on later on, probably today. I want to keep it rolling. But again, appreciate everybody's support. Like and subscribe to the show. Oh, real quick, got to shout out my boys at the Miami Hurricane Team Store. Big sale that ends tomorrow, so I want to make sure you guys take advantage of it, which is Black Friday, which was the day after Thanksgiving, all the way through to Cyber Monday, which is tomorrow, 30% off site-wide. That's at MiamiHTS.com or at the Miami Hurricane Team Store right across the street next to the Thesis Hotel. Show up there. Use promo code INSIDE20 always, but you don't even need to use it this weekend because you got the 30% off site-wide and store-wide for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Get your Christmas gear now or whatever holiday you celebrate. Take care of it now. Go MiamiHTS.com, Miami Hurricane Team Store in person if you want to go next to the University of Miami. 30% off site-wide all the way through Cyber Monday. All right, appreciate everybody joining us. Remember to like and subscribe. Go Canes.